After months and months of waiting, the first weekend of the college football season is officially wrapped up. We do have one more game tonight, but that wasn't really going to make much of an impact on today's video. We've now seen every team play, and we have a better understanding of teams than we did a week ago. With week 1 now in the books, it's time to take a look at who the 25 best teams are in college football. But before we get to today's top 25, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications if you're new to my channel. If you're watching this video, odds are you love college football, and odds are you aren't subscribed to my channel, so make sure to subscribe to one of the best college football communities here on YouTube. Number 1 was really easy, as it's Ohio State, as they took down the number 1 team in Texas 14-7. Now, although Ohio State is at number 1, I didn't think they looked all that great on Saturday. Now, I posted a video following that game where I praised the defense, but I thought their offense was really underwhelming. Now, obviously, you beat the number 1 team in college football, you are going to go up to the number 1 spot, especially this early in the season, but I want to see a little bit more from Ohio State over the next couple of weeks before we really cement them as the best team in college football. Number 2 is Penn State, who began the season ranked as number 2. They had an easy win over Nevada as they won by 35 points. Drew Aller threw for over 200 yards with a passing touchdown. Meanwhile, as a team, Penn State ran for 150 yards with 4 rushing scores. They were a 40-point favorite, they won by nearly 40 points, nothing really more to go with here. Going down to number 3, I have Texas. Like I mentioned in my video the other day, Texas was just a couple plays away from probably winning this game and staying ranked number 1. I thought Arch Manning was very underwhelming, and this offense as a whole was underwhelming, but this defense does look legit. They look like one of the best defenses in all of college football, and I do still think this is a team that's worthy of being ranked inside the top 5. I have LSU making the jump into the top 5 as they went on the road and took down the number 4 team in the country in Clemson. LSU didn't look all that great in the first half, but they outscored Clemson 14-0 in the second half to pick up the 7-point victory. Garrett Nussmeier threw for 230 yards and had a passing touchdown. Caden Durham was great on the ground as he ran for 75 yards and had a rushing score as well. Overall, I thought LSU's offense was actually a little bit underwhelming considering how high-powered we've seen these offenses in years past, but it was their defense that really impressed. They held a really good Clemson offense to only 10 points and only 250 yards of total offense. We know that LSU is going to be able to put up points in 2025, but if their defense can play the way they did this past weekend, I think LSU might be a legitimate title contender. Coming in at number 5, I have Miami as they took down number 6 Notre Dame by 3 points. It looked like Miami was going to win this game pretty easily, but they nearly blew it in the 4th quarter. Still, they managed to pull it out, and they have a pretty impressive victory already on their resume. Making his Miami debut, Carson Beck threw for over 200 yards and had 2 passing touchdowns. Wide receiver Malachi Torrey is a name we definitely have to keep our eyes on, as he had nearly 100 receiving yards with a receiving touchdown. I was very interested to see how this Miami team would look with the loss of Cam Ward. Now, obviously, Carson Beck isn't going to be as good of a quarterback, but making his debut and going up against a really good defense in Notre Dame, I thought he did the job and looked really solid. Up next, we have Georgia, who had a very easy 45-7 victory over Marshall. Gunnar Stockton threw for 200 yards with 2 passing touchdowns, while leading the Bulldogs on the ground with over 70 rushing yards and 2 rushing scores. He was responsible for most of the Bulldogs' offense. Again, they played a really bad team in Marshall, nothing really else to say here. Up next, we had Oregon, who had a very easy 59-13 victory over Montana State. Dante Moore made his debut as the starter for the Ducks, and he was solid. He completed 18-23 passes for over 200 yards and had 3 passing touchdowns. Meanwhile, for Oregon, most of their damage came on the ground. As a team, they ran for over 250 yards and had 5 rushing touchdowns. Arizona State kicked off their season with an easy win over Northern Arizona. Sam Leavitt led the way for the Sun Devils, and he's emerged as a Heisman contender. He threw for over 250 yards and had 2 passing touchdowns while being the leading rusher for the Devils. He had 70 yards on 7 carries and had 2 rushing touchdowns. Meanwhile, Jordan Tyson is going to be one of the best receivers in all of college football this season. He began the year with 12 receptions for 140 yards and 2 touchdowns. I have Clemson staying inside the top 10 after their 7-point loss at home to LSU. Although Clemson didn't look all that great and Cade Klubnik didn't have a great game, Clemson still had many chances to win this game. They ultimately just fell short. This defense is going to be one of the best defenses in all of college football this year, but my biggest concern after watching this performance was their offense. Cade Klubnik was top 3 in Heisman odds entering the season, and he did not look the part. He completed only 50% of his passes and didn't even have a passing touchdown. Meanwhile, on the ground, the Tigers ran for only 31 yards on 20 attempts. If Clemson wants any shot of being a national championship contender, this offense is going to have to turn things around. I have Notre Dame only dropping a couple spots after their close loss to Miami. Now, it was looking like Notre Dame was actually going to get blown out, but they managed to tie this game late, and ultimately, they fell by only a field goal. CJ Carr made his first career start for Notre Dame, and early on, it wasn't looking great, but in the second half, especially in the fourth quarter, he really turned things around and looked the part. He threw for over 220 yards with 2 passing touchdowns and added a score on the ground as well. My biggest concern in this game with Notre Dame was Jeremiah Love. I don't know what the hell the game plan was, I don't know if he was hurt, but he ran the ball only 10 times in this game for 33 yards. The stat line is gross in itself, but how are you giving one of the best running backs in all of college football, maybe the best running back in college football, only 10 carries in the biggest game of the season? That I don't understand whatsoever. South Carolina was actually on upset watch in their game against Virginia Tech. Entering the fourth quarter, they led by only 2 points, but they pulled away and ended up winning by 13. Lenora Sellers is a guy who many people think can win the Heisman this year, and he had a pretty solid debut to his 2025 season. He threw for over 200 yards with a passing touchdown while adding 25 yards on the ground with a rushing score as well. South Carolina is going to be a really interesting team to follow in 2025, mainly because they were one of the hottest teams in all of college football to end the 2024 season, and many people thought they should have been a playoff team. Well, they're entering the season with a lot of expectations, and they kicked off their year with a victory. Another team with a lot of expectations is Illinois, who began the season ranked number 12. They had an easy win over Western Illinois as they won by 49 points. Luke Altmaier threw for over 200 yards with 3 passing touchdowns. Meanwhile, on the ground, the Fighting Illini ran for over 200 yards and had a combined 3 rushing scores. There are a lot of teams in the Big Ten that are going to be getting a lot of the hype this year, but Illinois is a team that's right on the cusp of being inside the top 10, and they can make a potential push at a Big Ten championship. Oklahoma began with a very easy 32-point victory over Illinois State. Now, the win isn't anything to write home about, but I want to talk about quarterback John Mateer. I talked about this a couple of times this offseason, but with transfer quarterback John Mateer, I really do think Oklahoma is a team that can do some damage this year. Now, this did come against Illinois State, so we're going to pump the brakes just a bit, but John Mateer, he is the real deal, and he already has put himself near the top of the Heisman discussion. He threw for 400 yards with 3 passing touchdowns, while also adding a touchdown on the ground as well. For the most part, he accounted for like 80% of Oklahoma's total yards in this game. Now again, this was just a warm-up game. His first true test is going to come this weekend when the Sooners take on Michigan. Speaking of Michigan, they took down New Mexico 34-17. 5-star quarterback recruit Bryce Underwood made his debut, completing 21 of 31 passes for 250 yards with a passing touchdown. I just talked about it with Oklahoma, but Michigan is going to get their first real test this weekend when they face the Sooners. Florida kicked off their season with an easy one as they took down Long Island by 55 points. DJ Lagway was nearly perfect as he completed 15 of 18 passes for 3 passing touchdowns. Considering they played the Long Island University Sharks, I really don't know how much more we need to say about this game and Florida. After making it to the college football playoff last season, SMU began their 2025 campaign with an easy victory. They took on the East Texas A&M Lions. Kevin Jennings is a name that a lot of people have in the early Heisman discussion. Well, he threw for 260 yards with 2 passing touchdowns and added a touchdown on the ground as well. Like with a lot of these games, considering SMU played East Texas A&M, don't really need to say that much more. After being one of the worst teams in all of college football in 2024, Florida State kicked off their season with a dominant 14-point victory over number 8 Alabama. Tommy Castellanos was one of the more controversial quarterbacks this offseason as he really opened his mouth and seemed to trash talk Alabama at any given chance. Well, he backed up his play with a great performance. He threw for 150 yards on only 9 completions. He was also the leading rusher for the Seminoles with 80 yards on the ground and a rushing score. For the game, Florida State ran for over 230 yards and had 4 rushing touchdowns. Now, this one's really tough because I don't know if Florida State is going to surprise us all this season and be a lot better than we expected, or if this Alabama team is going to be a lot worse than we expected. But still, this was a top 10 team they were going against to begin the year, and they dominated them, essentially from start to finish on both sides of the ball. I mean, there were a number of moments in this game where this Florida State defense, they looked like the Florida State defense of old. Again, I don't know what kind of team we're going to get from Florida State in 2025, but for this week, and maybe this week only, I'm going to have them ranked inside my top 25. Ole Miss began their season with a cupcake as they took on Georgia State and defeated them by 56 points. Austin Simmons is the brand new quarterback for Ole Miss, and he did what all quarterbacks at Ole Miss under Lane Kiffin do. He threw for 340 yards and had 3 passing touchdowns. Meanwhile, on the ground, the Rebels ran for a combined 300 yards and had 4 rushing touchdowns. Texas A&M kicked off their season with a 42-24 victory over UTSA. Marcel Reed was fantastic in the opener as he threw for 300 yards with 4 passing touchdowns. He was also the leading rusher with 40 yards on the ground. Texas A&M was a team fighting for a playoff spot last year at the very end of the year, so it's going to be fascinating to see if they can bounce back and be a playoff caliber team in 2025. Tennessee kicked off their season with a 19-point victory over Syracuse. After losing Nico Iamaleava, they went to the portal and brought in Joey Aguilar, a guy who I said this offseason is probably going to make Tennessee an even better offense and would be an upgrade at the quarterback position. Well, it was only one game, but he definitely looked the part. He threw for 250 yards and had 3 passing touchdowns. He also added 35 yards on the ground. As a team, the Volunteers ran for 250 yards and had 2 rushing scores. Tennessee made the playoffs last year, but they got eliminated in the first game and looked really disappointing. But as I've said numerous times, I think by getting rid of Nico Iamaleava, this team is going to be in a much better position to go forward. After reaching the college football playoff in 2024, Indiana kicked off their season with a 13-point victory over Old Dominion. Their new quarterback is Cal transfer Fernando Mendoza. He threw for 200 yards, but didn't have a passing touchdown, although he did have a touchdown on the ground. It's going to be interesting to see how Indiana does this year after reaching the college football playoff last year. One of my biggest surprises of the entire weekend was Auburn. They went on the road and dominated Baylor, winning 38-24. A reason why I wasn't that high on Auburn to begin the year was because of transfer quarterback Jackson Arnold. I thought he was very underwhelming last year at Oklahoma, and I didn't think he would be the guy for the Tigers. Well, after one game, I was definitely wrong. He only threw for 100 yards, but had only 11 completions on 17 attempts. All of his damage came on the ground as he was the team's leading rusher. He averaged 9 yards a carry and ran for just under 150 yards and had 2 rushing touchdowns. The Baylor defense had absolutely no answer for him. Auburn's rushing attack was also fantastic for the entire game as the team combined to run for over 300 yards with 4 rushing touchdowns. If Jackson Arnold can play the way he did against Baylor, Auburn is a team that can make a sneaky run in the SEC this year. After a disappointing 2024 season, it's very easy to forget about Utah, but they reminded us all that they are one of the better teams in the Big 12 as they dominated UCLA on the road, winning by 33 points. A quarterback transfer that didn't get a lot of hype this offseason, but is one that definitely put himself on the map, is New Mexico transfer Devin Dampier. He completed 21 to 25 passes for 200 yards and had 2 passing touchdowns. He was also the leading rusher for the Utes as he ran for just under 100 yards with a rushing score. Overall for the game, Utah ran for just under 300 yards with 4 rushing scores. There are a lot of really solid teams in the Big 12 this season that have been getting a lot of preseason hype, but don't forget about Utah, because I wouldn't be shocked if at the end of the year, they're 10-2 and they're playing in the Big 12 title game. Iowa State is the only team on today's video that is actually 2-0. They began the season last week in Ireland by taking down Kansas State, and this past weekend they took down South Dakota by 48 points. Rocco Beck was nearly perfect this weekend as he completed 19 of 20 passes for 280 yards with 3 passing touchdowns. As a team, the Cyclones ran for over 220 yards and had 4 rushing scores. It's tough to say don't sleep on Iowa State considering they were in the Big 12 championship game just last year, but I feel like this is another team that isn't getting the kind of hype that we would expect entering 2025. We're going to wrap up today's video with one final Big 12 team in Texas Tech as they took down Arkansas Pine Bluff by 60 points. Baron Morton didn't need to play much, but he still threw for 200 yards and had 4 passing touchdowns. On the ground, Texas Tech ran for 300 yards and had a combined 3 rushing scores. Texas Tech is a team that a lot of people have as a sneaky playoff contender in 2025, and although they had an easy win to begin their year, this offense definitely looked the part. Well, that wraps it up for today's top 25. What were your thoughts on these rankings? Was there a team I had ranked way too high, or was there a team I had ranked way too low? Also, was there a team that didn't crack the top 25 that you think should have been in here? Whoever it is, let me know in the comment section down below. Before you leave, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications if you're new to my channel. With college football now officially back, I'll be posting college football videos every day during the season, so make sure to subscribe so you never miss a video. Also, don't forget to drop a like on this video as well. It helps out with that YouTube algorithm, and it helps share this video and my channel with more college football fans. Plus, it only takes a second to do. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.